Dr. Lisa Mckenzie's listening to this, a sociology lecturer at Middlesex University. Hello, Lisa.
Hi.
Hi. And Ross Clark, a columnist for the Spectator. Hello, Ross.
Hi.
I literally don't know what to say in reaction to that, Lisa.
Well, I know what to say in reaction to that is why are you and why is the rest of society constantly asking individuals what they can do about this situation when this situation is a structural and systematic situation? The people that have been on the phone tonight that I've listened to, none of their problems are their own. Their problems have come from a structure and a system and a society that values wealth and profit far more than people. And so therefore, I know exactly what we need to be saying. Instead of asking people who have got no food for 2 days why they've got a pet, why they've got no friends, it's really obvious. You know, someone that is not working, that is got ill health, becomes estranged from society. They spend their whole days just trying to get to survive. Of course their social networks start to break down. I'm sorry, but what I've heard tonight is very typical of what is happening out in the country at the moment. It's really, really upset me.
Ross?
But I think one thing which really does have to be debunked is the idea that there's anything sort of novel to poverty, or that it's been getting worse, because the figures really do not, it just simply isn't true. And
that is true.
No, we
true.
Come on.
Hold on. Let's
I've been doing this research for a long time.
Well, Lisa, let him make his point first.
Let's just listen to the figures, and then you can you can challenge them if you want to. But the number of people living in poverty, the percentage of population living in poverty, according to the Office for National Statistics, is 22%, exactly the same now as it was in 2002. But what we've got to remember is that poverty, official poverty figures, they're relative poverty. It's not absolute poverty, and it's defined in this country as anybody living on less than 60% of median earnings. And median earnings go up as society becomes richer. So, for example, in 2002, and I'm taking after housing costs here because I know cost of housing is a particular issue. In 2002, you were officially poor if you had £235 a week after housing costs. It's now £262. So in other words, somebody who's just on that poverty line is actually now £30 a week better off than they were, was it 16 years ago, 17 years ago? And those, the figures I've gave are, adjusted for inflation as well. One other thing, we keep hearing this stuff about 0 hours Britain as if, that we've got masses of people who are, living without regular work and don't know when their next job is coming from. Well, there are obviously people in that position, but it is 2.8% of the working population. I think that we've got to remember that. It's a very small position. We've got record employment.
Well, let's let Lisa
employment is at 45-year low.
Okay.
So that's a context.
Dr. Lisa Mckenzie.
So he's just on the Tory bingo there. Oh, we've got record employment. The employment that we have for working class people in this country is unskilled, low paid, and no hope. And it's okay from somebody from the Spectator sitting there and sort of releasing these figures. But these figures do not take into account the actual lived experience of what it's like to not make ends meet and to be working and to not know where your next 4-hour shift is going to come from. I come from Nottinghamshire. And I come from an area that used to have mines and used to have decent jobs for working class people. Those decent unionised, well-paid jobs have now gone, and what we've got instead is we've got the big, massive warehouses that are absolutely low pay and no hope. And And so therefore, there are great swathes of this country who now are in situations where they are living day to day, just like Peter. I'm sorry, I'm not going to accept that somehow relative poverty doesn't matter. We've also got an increase in homelessness. We've got an increase in people dying on the streets. That is absolute poverty.
Look, here's what is getting better. Look,
it's not getting better.
No, look, I'm telling you, these are the things which are getting better. I'm not saying there isn't poverty, I've said there is, but these are things that are getting better. We now have a national minimum wage. It's got up to about £9 an hour. 20 years ago, we didn't have a national minimum wage.
We've got parts of the country where people can't get anywhere to live, where their wage even covers. The southeast, I've got my sister in Brighton is a gardener, full-time working for Brighton City Council. Her rent is £1,000 a month. She earns £1,200 and she's got a child.
Yeah, I know.
No, and this idea that somehow minimum wage is covering. Minimum wage is not covering minimum life.
We didn't have a minimum wage at all 20 years ago.
No, we didn't.
You're talking about Nottinghamshire. I mean, I'd say that's where my grandparents came from.
That's where I come from.
Nottinghamshire coalfield. I'll tell you, my great-grandmother, I remember going round to her house in 1977 and being really shocked she didn't have an indoor lavatory. And, it's easy to forget.
It's not easy to forget. I grew up that way. I'm not forgetting this.
And, the idea that, you can try and say that things are worse now
they
than they were
Okay.
20, 30, 40
Look, unfortunately, we've got to go
years
to the news tonight, but Dr. Lisa Mckenzie, another contribution from you, please.
This idea that relative poverty doesn't matter, we've been saying that this has been a rhetoric that's been happening for sort of 40, 50, 60 years. I remember there was a piece of research that was done in St Anne's in Nottinghamshire in the 1960s when we didn't have toilets inside, and actually the same argument was being made that actually if you think about the early 1900s, people were just relatively poor. That argument does not stand up. This relative poverty argument does not stand up.
I want to say thank you, Lisa, thank you, Ross, thank you very much indeed. Here's what we're going to do. There is a huge reaction now to caller Rob, who called us earlier. He last had food yesterday. He hasn't eaten today. He will not eat tomorrow. He's no money, none. He took 30 odd pence out of his piggy bank. That's all he had left. He's on benefits. He spent it on food, and that's the Britain that he's living in. And we're getting your reaction tonight to that caller, 08085 909 693. Please pick up the phone tonight. I'm sorry we're late for the news. It's 4 minutes past 11.